Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranams to all the devotees. Thank you all very much for joining in for our Bhagavad Gita study session today. We are currently studying chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. So we saw yesterday, Avajananti Mamudha Manushim Tanumashritam Parambhava Majananto Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram Avajananti Mamudha. Oh, fools only deride me, right? Krishna is saying, Avajananti Mamudha Manushim Tanumashritam. When I come as a human being, who deride me? Only fools deride my appearance and think that I am also an ordinary human being like them. Right? Fools deride me. Right? Manushim Tanumashritam Parambhava Majananto Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram. While I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fools think that I am also an ordinary person like them, and they think me to be an ordinary person like that. And then Prabhupada also mentions very beautifully in the purport how the Lord and the living entity are one and the same. They are both Satchit Ananda Vigraha. But the Lord is unlimitedly Satchit Ananda, whereas the living entities are minuscule versions of Satchit Ananda. Krishna is Satchit Ananda Rupaya Krishnaya. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternal blissful form of knowledge, wealth, and a knowledge, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. That means eternity, knowledge, and blissfulness. We also have a transcendental, our constitutional position is also transcendental. That means I am a transcendental person, right? I am the soul, the spirit soul is eternal also. The spirit soul is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. But then when I'm entrapped within this body, the body is made of the 8 elements, right? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. And this body by itself is perishable, right? But I, being the soul, I am also having the same characteristic as that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am also imperishable. I am also Satchit Ananda. But I am Satchit Ananda to a minuscule level, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchit Ananda to an unlimited level. And this difference always exists, even when I perfect my life. That is the difference between Mayavadis, right? Mayavadis also think, yeah, there is a spirit, there is a law, there is a God, but I am currently under Maya. But when I come out of my Maya situation, then I will become God, right? But Prabhupada says, this is foolishness. How can Maya empower the Supreme Personality of Godhead? If you and I are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how are we bewildered and we are situated under Maya? Because Maya is the energy of the Supreme Lord, and Maya can never overpower the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Maya can overpower us. We are limited, or we are marginal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maya can affect us, but Maya cannot affect the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This understanding only a devotee has. Otherwise, those who are well versed in the scriptures also, they sometimes have this opinion that now I am bewildered, now I am under Maya, but now when I perfect my life by following these Ashtanga Yoga and all these practices, then I will become God. And that Prabhupada says is the last snare of Maya, right? Still such time also one continues to be under the illusory nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One gets bewildered. All right, so let's continue from 9.12. Let me share my screen. Devotees can raise your hands and then we can start reading. 9.12. Okay, so who'll read? Okay, we'll start with Rajneesh Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhu. Text number 12.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Moghasha Mogh Karmano Mogh Jnana Vichesa Rakshasi Masuri Prakriti Mohini Vidaha. Mogha ash baffled in their hope. Mogha Karmana baffled in punitive activities. Mogha Jnana Mogha Jnanana battled in knowledge. Vichetas bewildered. Rakshtam demonic. Asurin aesthetic. And Eva certainly. Prakritam nature. Mohimim bewildering. Intaha taking shelter of.
Ashritaha.
Taking shelter of. Those who are thus bewildered or are attracted by demonic and theistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their punitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart don't accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in punitive, pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic, demonic or
Atheistic.
demonic or atheistic, atheistic, as described in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth, being them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from the material body, there is no difference between God and himself. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of knowledge in Vedic literature like Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishad is always deferred. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna as supreme personality of Godhead to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. The Brahat Vishnu Samriti clearly states, Yo
यो
Veti
भौतिकं देहं कृष्णस्य परमात्मनः स सर्वस्मात् बहिष्कार्यः श्रौतस्मार्थ मुखं तस्यावलोक्यापि स चेलं स्नानमाचरेत्.
one who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of Shruti and Samriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in Ganges to get himself of infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the spirit of atheistic and demoniac life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to darkest illusion of Hare.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So this is what we discussed, right? Mayavadis, because they think Maya is even superior to Krishna. That is their foolishness. They think that Maya can supersede the Lord, and we are all lords. We are all Bhagavan. But then what happens? We are under the control of Maya now. But then when we perfect our life, we become Bhagavan, which is foolishness, which we discussed in great detail already. So we'll not go into that. So those are, Prabhupada calls them rascals and fools, right? Namam duskritino modha prapadyante naradamaha Maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrataha. Four kinds of people don't surrender to me. Krishna himself tells in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Mudha, those who are extremely foolish. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradamaha, who are lowest among mankind. Maya aparita jnana. That means Maya has stolen their intelligence. Maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrataha. Those who are completely of the demoniac kind. Those are the four kinds of people who don't surrender to Krishna, who think that Krishna is also like one of us, right? And just like we get bewildered by Maya, Krishna also will get bewildered by Maya. And that's how Krishna has come into this world. And then we can also become God, just like Krishna is God, like that. So they perform various austerities and all of these things to somehow or the other become God. But we should understand, we already discussed several times, nobody can become God by meditation or by austerity or by any practices, right? Lord is always Lord, and Jiva is always a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So that's what is here, very beautifully described by Prabhupada. This is very beautiful verse also. Yo veti bhautikam deham. Bhautikam means material. One who thinks that the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also bhautika, that is also material. Who thinks Krishna is paramatmanaha, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone thinks his body is bhautika, sa sarvasmat bahishkarya shrauta smarta vidanataha. That means one should be driven out of performing all of the activities, yajnas, all the rituals that one can perform. One can only perform if one understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one does not understand all that, all of the yajnas and the activities that he may be performing as per the shrutis, as per the smritis are all useless. And then mukham tasyavalokyapi sa chelam snanam acharet. Mukham means if he somebody by chance sees that person's face, one should immediately take a bath by going to the Ganges, right? And take a bath. Why? Because one gets infected by the association that one keeps, right? Especially those who are envious of the Lord, those who are blasphemers, immediately we should leave their association and run, right? Two ways are given. Right, the third way, of course, is not recommended. Right, actually, it is said that one should immediately commit suicide if one is hearing a blasphemy and is not able to counteract that blasphemy. But in this age of Kali, we are all fools. That means everybody has to die. Everybody has to commit suicide. Right, so that is not prescribed in this age of Kali. At least one should immediately counteract on the basis of the Shastras and defeat such a person. Right, that's why we study Shastras. So we have a law, we have a proper understanding basis the transcendental purports of Prabhupada. Secondly, if somebody is a Kanishta Adhikari, somebody has faith but is not able to actually defeat somebody else in an argument. An argument is not like fight and, shouting on top of the voice. That's not the fight, right? But trying to explain in the light of the Shastras, right? Jnaninas tattva darshinaha, right? Somebody who has learned from a realized soul puts his point of view on the basis of scriptures, on the basis of Guru Shastra and Sadhan, tries to convince the other person. If the other person is not getting convinced or is going into an argument, then one has to leave that place immediately. That's what is prescribed in the Shastras. Let's move on to next verse. It's going to talk about the greatness of a person who understands who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's called Mahatma, a very great soul. Let's see who are those Mahatmas. Okay, Sridhar Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam Mataji.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, yes.
Mahatman Suman Partha Devin Prakriti Mastrila Bhajan Dhyanam Yamana So Yatma Budadi Mavyayam. Hare Krishna. Synonymous. Mahatma, the great soul, too, but Mam, unto me, Partha, O son of Pratha, the Devyam, divine, Prakritim, nature, Ashriya, having taken shelter of Bhajanti, renders service, Ananya Manasa, without deviation of mind, Nyatva, knowing, Bhuta, of creation, Admi, the origin, Ayanam, inexhaustible. Translation by Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. O son of Pritha, those who are not diluted, the great souls are under the protection of divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport by Prabhupada Ki Pranam. In this verse, the description of Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature and how it is affected. This is explained in the 7th chapter. One who shall surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once become free from the control of material nature. That is qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is, primarily formula, being a marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of spiritual nature is called Daiva Prakriti, the divine nature. So when one is promoted that way by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains the stage of great soul, Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or a great soul developed through the association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attached by Krishna's other features, such as four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attached by the two-arm form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other feature of Krishna, or not they concerned with any form of demigod or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unfailing service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Mashritaha. So, the first quality of a Mahatma is that he takes shelter of the internal pleasure potency of the Lord, the internal energy of the Lord. That means there is no Bhoga Vritti, there is only Seva Vritti. That is the difference, right? What is the difference between the external and the internal energy of the Lord? External energy of the Lord is they are always trying to exploit the material nature. They are always trying to exploit and enjoy sense gratification. Whereas if you are like yesterday we discussed, right? We are Jiva Tattvas. We are the marginal energy of the Lord. Sometimes we sway towards the internal pleasure potency of the Lord. Sometimes towards the Bahiranga Shakti, which is the external energy of the Lord. When we are swinging towards the external energy of the Lord, we should understand we are engaging in sense gratification. When we are swinging towards internal energy of the Lord, then we are engaged in service, right? So that is what differentiates between a Mahatma and a Duratma. A Mahatma is always situated in the Daivim Prakriti Ashrita. Ashrita means to take shelter. To take shelter of the internal pleasure potential of the Lord means to be engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the pure devotees, they are not attracted by, if you see Krishna, Arjuna and Duryodhana, both of them went to Krishna, at the time of Kurukshetra. And both of them were taking the shelter of Krishna. But Duryodhana, when Krishna told that either I am available, but I will not take any weapon. And Krishna also told that on the other side, I will give my Narayani Sena. But my entire Narayani Sena will be in one side, and I will be on the other side, and I will not even take up a weapon. Right? So what do Mahatmas choose? Mahatmas choose the Lord. Right? We don't choose the Lord's external energy. The Narayani Sena is like the external manifestation of energy of the Lord only. Right? But Krishna himself, whom will we choose? Right? So choosing the Narayani Sena is more sense gratification. Why? Because Duryodhana thought that the Narayani Sena is more powerful than Krishna himself. And that he will give the Narayani Sena will give him sense gratification by enabling him to win the war. Right? But what did Arjuna think? Arjuna thought the entire world, right? Not just the Narayani Sena. If the entire world were to come and Krishna is alone on the other side, I would rather choose only Krishna, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is my friend. Krishna is all powerful. So the Mahatmas, they are able to, they are guided by the Lord to take proper decisions. Whereas Duratmas were so clouded with sense gratification, they cannot see things as they are. That is the difference between Mahatma and Duratma, like that. Okay, let's move forward. Text number 14. Let's request Vrishabhanu Kanya Mataji to go ahead and read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dhradavrata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya ukta upasate. Satatam, always, kirtayantaha, chanting, mama, about me, yatantaha, fully endeavoring, cha, also, vrataha, with determination, namasyantaha, offering obeisance, cha, and mama, me, bhaktya, in devotion, Nitya Yuktah, perpetually engaged, Upsata, Upsata, worship, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, this great soul perpetually worship me with devotion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of Supreme Lord Krishna. The personality of Godhead, he has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the world of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. The Brahma Jyotir is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Sravanaha, Kirtanam Vishnu, and Smaranam, remembering him, such a Mahatma has a firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end and the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the transcendental rasa. To achieve that success, he engaged all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain day, like the 11th of the day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatma, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life and in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari. In any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Sorry, I was on mute. So I was just saying that in the previous verse we discussed who is a Mahatma. A Mahatma takes shelter in the internal energy of the Lord. So what does it mean by saying one takes shelter in the internal energy of the Lord, right? Krishna also describes that. Mat chitta mat gata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantasya mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. One who's always thinking about me, one who offers obeisances to me, one who worships me. Katayantasya mam nityam. One who always listens or speaks about my pastimes, and in this way they glorify me and they derive great pleasure in conversing about me and enlightening each other about me. Such a person is very dear to me, and such a person is a devotee. And this is what is a normal characteristic of a person who is called a Mahatma. Why? because that person is so much interested in understanding who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also interested in actually following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Not just interested in sense gratification. Such a person is a Mahatma. And then one more important point was there. Yeah. So what is devotional service, right? When we say devotional service, right, we don't have to perform unnecessary austerities, right? Sometimes we just go ahead and do whatever we like according to the dictations of our mind, and then we call it devotional service, right? Sometimes it is only simply to gratify our own senses, and then we name it devotional service, but it is not actually devotional service. So what is devotional service, right? Devotional service means it should be performed, one, for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Two, we don't want to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how do we know? Two, it should be according to the instructions of Guru, Shastra and Sadhu. It should not be going against or not in contravention to the principles as given by Guru, Shastra and Sadhu, right? That is why a devotee does take austerities. A devotee fasts on Ekadashi days. Why? Because it is prescribed in the Shastras. A devotee actually observes the Chaturmasya fast, right? Which means fasting from milk, curd, urad dal, shak, etc. Why? Because such kind of penance and austerity helps one improve one's love for Lord Sri Krishna, improve one's ability to control sense gratification and engage one's senses in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all of these things, a Mahatma or a great soul or a devotee actually voluntarily takes up these austerities to observe these rules and regulations. Why? Because it helps one advance in bhakti, not to get that false ego that I am able to practice all of these austerities by my own endeavor. No, a devotee aspires to perform all these things, but when a devotee is aspiring to do all these things, he knows in his heart that he's able to practice all these austerities only because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why it is not that a sannyasi, right? A sannyasi is highly situated, because of course, sannyasi is in the highest order, even higher than a brahmana. But then a sannyasi never thinks that because I have renounced everything, I am superior to all the other people, right? The more one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness, the more one agrees or accepts that I am the lowest, right? Everybody else is better than me, or at least one understands that even if I'm performing the greatest of the austerities, even if I'm performing, I'm able to perform great services in the service of the Lord, it is only because of the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. It is not my strength. It is not my ability because of which I'm able to do all these things. So that is the consciousness that actually determines the difference between a Mahatma and a Duratma. Duratma also may be performing wonderful fiats, wonderful great things, but that because of the past karmic activities, right? Karmic reactions. Maybe he's performed so many punya activities, because of which he's got a lot of Aishwarya, a lot of wealth, a lot of resources, a lot of skills. But if the person thinks that, oh, I am able to do all these things, then that person is a Duratma. Although he may be performing very, very wonderful activities and everybody in the world is glorifying him, but yet he's a Duratma. Why? Because he thinks that I am the doer, I am the performer. That means his actual transcendental knowledge is zero. Whereas a person who performs all these activities also, but he understands that I'm able to do all of this only with the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, he is properly situated. He is a Mahatma. So the external success does not determine whether a person is Mahatma or Duratma. What determines? It is internal consciousness of the person, whether successful or not. If I am dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I continue to perform my prescribed duty, not bothering whether it is resulting in a success or failure, simply following the instructions of Guru and Gauranga. Such a person is a Mahatma. And all the rest of the people who may be very successful externally, but if they don't surrender to the Supreme Lord, they are considered Duratma. Like that. Okay. So let's continue. Let's go on to text number 15. Who will read Sindhu Mataji? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, pranam.
Prabhupada ki jai. Text 15. 1 second.
Jnana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mam
Jnana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mam upashate ekatvena pratatvena Bahuda Vishwato Mukam. Translation and purport by Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Others who engage in sacrifice,
Mataji, please.
Jnana Yajnena, by cultivation of knowledge, cha also, api certainly, anye others, yajantaha sacrificing, mam me, upashate worship, ekatvena in oneness, pratatvena in duality, bahuda in diversity, vishwataha mukham and in the universal form. Translation and purport by Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. Purport. This verse is the summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet, there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. Number one, he who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. Two, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. And three, he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monists, are the most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. The third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord.
Yeah.
Hare
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So, ekatvena, pratatvena, bahuda, vishwato mukam. Ekatvena means to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? We are believers in one God, right? One God is Krishna. Ekala Ishvara Krishna, Ara Sabha Britya. Everyone else is a servant of that one Supreme Personality of Godhead, isn't it? Ekatvena, pratatvena, bahuda, vishwato mukam. Pratatvena means thinking every demigod is also Lord, right? I should worship all the controllers, right? That is the second level, right? They worship every demigod also as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then bahuda vishwato mukam. And then another one is vishwato mukam. Vishwato mukam means they consider this material world itself as a representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Ekatvena is one is the right understanding of ekatvena is ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Savapritya. But in this verse, ekatvena also means a person who does not have a proper understanding. He thinks he himself is God. That means they are referring to impersonalists. That means what? Right now I am under the control of Maya. But when I perfect my life, I will merge into the Brahma Jyoti. When I merge into the Brahma Jyoti, I will become God. Right? This is the third level of realization of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Right? When I merge into the Brahman, I don't become Bhagavan. Right? I only stay there for some time and then I get bored there and then I'll fall down. So this is not a perfect understanding. This is the lowest realization of the absolute truth. But these three people also, they accept that there is some superior power. Right? I am not all in all. There is some superior power. I believe then I can merge into that power and then I can become God. Or that is the Brahman, right? The Brahman and the Parabrahman stage, the lowest level of realization. The second stage is there is some demigod, right? There is the Indra, Chandra, Varuna. They are all more powerful than me. So at least I surrender to them. And then this material universe, oh my God, it is so much incomprehensible how this material world is working. So they surrender to Vishwato Mukham. That means understand that the Vishwarupa form of the Lord also. Krishna shows that only. That everybody is going into my mouth, the demigods, the demons, all of them are being swallowed by the Lord. All of them are getting generated by the Lord. So this external form of the Lord, they believe that to be the supreme. In either case, they worship some higher power, and yet they are considered to be at par with those who approach a superior authority because they are feeling distressed, because they are desirous of wealth, Right? Jana Sukritino Arjuna, Artho, Jignashu, Artharthi, Jnani cha Bhartarshaba. Right? One who are in knowledge, one who's in search of wealth, one who is in distress, and finally one who is curious to understand. Oh, who's that superior power? I want to understand who's that person. Right? So it's the four kinds of people, and along with them there are these three kind of people who also don't have complete knowledge of Bhagavan, but they also believe in some superior power and they surrender to that superior power or the light or the authority or whoever it may be. Yeah. Right? Okay, let's move forward. Text number 16. Karpavali Mataji, go ahead. Aham kratur, aham yajna. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Aham kratur, aham yajna, swadanam, aham asudam, aushadam, aushadam, mantroham, aham, ivanyam, aham, agir, aham, kutam. Synonyms: aham, I, kratu, Vedic ritual, aham, I, yajna, smriti, sacrifice, swada, oblation, aham, I, aushadam, healing herb, aushadam, healing herb, mantraha, transcendental chant, aham, I, eva, certainly, anyam, melted butter, aham, I, ajya, melted butter, aham, I, agni, fire, aham, I, kutam, offering. Translation will Prabhupada ki jai. But it is I who who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, transcendental chant, I am the butter and the fire and the offering. Purport: the Vedic sacrifice known as the Jyotitoma is also Krishna, and he is also the Mahayajna mentioned in the Smriti. The oblations offered to the Pitaloka or the sacrifice performed to please the Pitaloka, considered a kind of a drug in the form of clarified butter, is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in this connection are also Krishna, and many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifices are also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna because fire is one of the five material elements and is therefore claimed as the separated energy of Krishna. In other words, the Vedic sacrifices recommended in the Karma Kanda division of Vedas are in total also Krishna. Or in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
Dandatna.
So Krishna tells, Yajnatat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Yajnatat, every activity that we perform can be performed as a yajna. It depends on our consciousness. If we are performing any activity for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it automatically becomes a yajna. Right? How does eating become yajna? When we offer the foodstuffs to the Lord and honor prasadam. How does sleeping become yajna? When we are sleeping, before we go to sleep, we think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Be grateful for the entire day, whatever has happened, which has helped us remain Krishna conscious. And then I'm going to take rest now. Why? Because tomorrow morning, after 6 hours of sleep, if I wake up in the morning, I have the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. I have the opportunity to perform Mangala Arati. Right? Harjit Mataji is there. Yeah, she started performing Mangala Arati now every day in the morning. So those are things for which we want to wake up, right? We want to chant Hare Krishna, and then we want to start performing Mangala Arati, then Tulsi Arati, then Narsingha Arati, and then Guru Puja. So in this way, when we sleep with this consciousness that I'm going to take rest so that I get rejuvenated and I can perform devotional service, then our sleep also becomes devotional service. Everything, whatever we do, that also becomes a yajna, provided we are doing that, performing that yajna for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Recently I saw in one yajna, they sent the photographs where the shape of the fire was like Krishna holding a flute. Something like that was going on. That means what? The Krishna is a fire. Of course, Krishna is not only the fire, Krishna is the earth, water, fire, air, ether, they're all elements manifesting from Krishna only. Krishna is only giving us these gross elements, the subtle elements, isn't it? So everything is a manifestation of Krishna. Krishna is not only the fire, Krishna is also the clarified butter, the ghee that we offer in the fire, right? So that the fire blazes, right? So that ghee is also Krishna. The mantras are chanted, right? It is said that no yajna is complete without the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, right? Even the initiation yajnas that Prabhupada used to perform, right? There used to be the chanting of the mantras and there used to be fire sacrifice, right? Even now, there is ISKCON, we follow that for any initiation ceremony. Of course, none of the yajnas are complete. None of the yajnas are pleasing to the Lord unless they are always accompanied by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, any activity that we perform as devotional service is equal to performing of a yajna, provided our consciousness is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even when we perform the actual yajna, when we call, when we call a devotee who's qualified Brahmana, when we ask that devotee to perform a yajna also, such yajna is also for the pleasure of the Lord. The ahuti that we offer in the Agni, they are also for the pleasure of the Lord. And it is always accompanied by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And that way, it becomes pleasing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, let's move on. Text number 17. Let me share my screen. Okay, 17, 18, 19. Okay, one more person can read. We'll end with 20 today. Moshmi Mataji, go ahead. 17.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam.
Pranam, yes.
पिताहमस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामह वेद्यं पवित्रम् ओंकार ऋक् साम यजुर्वच synonymous Pita, father, aham, I, asya, of this, jagata, universe, mata, mother, data, supporter, pitamaha, grandfather, yagyam, what is to be known, pavitram, that which purifies, omkara, the symbol om, Rig Veda, Sama, the Sam Veda, Yajuh, the Yajur Veda, Eva, certainly, Ka, and. Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the supporter of the grandson. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig Veda, the Sam Veda, and the Yajurva Veda. Purpose. The entire cosmic manifestation, moving the non-moving and non-moving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with the different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appears as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are parts and parcel of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appears to be our father, mother, etc., are nothing but Krishna. In this verse, the word Data means creator. Not only are our father and mother parts and parcels of Krishna, but the creator, grandfather, and grandmother and grandfather, etc., are also Krishna. Actually, any living entities being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas, therefore, aim only towards Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step towards understanding Krishna. That subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Simply the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om called prana,
Pranava.
Pranava is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all the hymns of the four Vedas, Sama, Yajurva, Rig, and Atharva, the Pranava or Omkara is very prominent. It is understood to be Krishna.
Yeah. So Krishna tells later on also in a chapter where he describes himself, he says, "I am the syllable Om in the Vedic scriptures," right? Because Om constitutes me, right? Om is the sound representation of Krishna. And also, it also is here, this point, Mayavadis also pick up this point to argue that living entity is also given to be equal to Krishna. Right here, Mata, Data, Pitamaha, Vedyam, Pavitram, Omkara, Rik, Sama, Yajur, Evacha. So here it is saying, Mata, Data, Pitamaha. I am the father, I am the grandfather. Right? Like we always think of Bhishma Pitamaha. He's a grandfather, right? But then when Krishna is saying this, it means that, okay, Krishna is saying, I am the father, I am the mother, I am the grandfather, right? And I am actually the mother, the father, or a grandfather, right? As a living entity, I am. So I am thinking that I am equal to Krishna. Yes, I am equal to Krishna. That is understood in a proper way. What is it? I am equal to Krishna qualitatively. I am also Satchitananda. But I am not equal to Krishna in quantity. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna is Satchitananda, unlimited. I am Satchitananda, minuscule, right? And Krishna, elsewhere, Krishna also states, 15.15 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So Krishna is giving us the knowledge. Krishna is the knowledge because Vedyam, right? Vedyam means the knowledge of the Vedas is also Krishna. The knowledge by which we are able to understand Krishna is also Krishna. But what we should understand is that Krishna is giving us the knowledge. How much ever knowledgeable we may become, we can never become equal to Krishna. That's why Krishna is called Asamaurdhva. Krishna does not have anybody who is Sama or Urdhva. Krishna does not have anybody who is equal to him. Krishna will never have anybody who is superior to him because Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, let's move ahead. Text number 18. Okay, Mashmi Mataji already read. Sudha Mataji, go ahead. 18, Sudha Mataji, Deval Mataji can read 19. Hema Mataji can read 20. We'll stop at verse number 20 today. All right, go ahead. Gatir Bartha. Sudha Mataji, able to unmute yourself?
Hare Krishna Mataji, you unmuted me.
No, she's not unmuting. Okay, you go ahead. We'll ask Sudha Mataji to read next. Yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Dhanavad pranam Mataji.
Dhanavad.
Gato bharta prabhu sakshi nivasha sharanam sahrit prabhava pralayasthanan nidhanam bijamavyayam. Synonyms: Gatihi, goal; Bharta, sustainer; Prabhu, Lord; Sakshi, witness; Nivashaha, abode; Sharanam, refuge; Suhrit, most intimate friend; Prabhava, creation; Pralaya, dissolution; Sthanam, ground; Nidhanam, resting place; Bijam, seed; Avyayam, imperishable. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. Purport. Gati means the destination where we want to go, but the ultimate goal is Krishna, although people do not know it. One who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. There are many who make as their destination different demigods, and by rigid performance of the strict respective methods, they reach different planets known as Chandraloka, Suryaloka, Indraloka, Maharloka, etc. But all such lokas or planets, being creations of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Such planets, being manifestations of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna, but actually they serve only as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy. For example, if there is a possibility of going to the top of a building by the help of an elevator, why should one go by the staircase, step by step? Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him and everything exists on his energy. Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, is a supreme witness. The residences, countries, or planets on which we live are also Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter, and therefore one should take shelter of Krishna either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. And whenever we have to take protection, we should know that our protection must be a living force. Krishna is a supreme living entity, and since Krishna is the source of our generation or the Supreme Father, no one can be better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well-wisher. Krishna is the original source of creation and the ultimate rest after annihilation. Krishna is therefore the eternal cause of all causes. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvalokam Maheshwaram. He's a Bhukta, he's an enjoyer. Sarvalokam Maheshwaram. He is a controller of all the world. Sarvalokam Maheshwaram. Suhradam Sarvabhutanam. He is the best friend of all the living entities. Right? Suhradam Sarvabhutanam Nyatva Mam Shanti Mrichati. Somebody who understands this will experience peace in this world. Right? Prabhupada is talking about how we just need to be in the elevator. Very, very easy and simple to be in the elevator only, right? You don't have to climb so many steps. We get tired. Sometimes we rest there and then we don't want to move forward, right? But this is Bhakti Yoga is such an easy process. It's simply in the association of devotees, right? Just like there's an example given, like when we go to the station, especially in Mumbai, the trains are so crowded. You don't have to endeavor to go into the train. If you are in the right place, in front of the right platform, the ladies' compartment, there are 10 people behind you. Then they will push you and you will get into the train, right? Only thing, we need to ensure that we don't get out in the wrong station, right? So in that way, we just simply have to be there. And then in the association of devotees, we will be together. We'll be easily able to practice Bhakti Yoga, and then we will reach the eternal destination by just being in the elevator, by just doing, by just in the association of devotees, we will be Susukam Kartumavyayam. In 9.2, Krishna says, Susukam Kartumavyayam. Whatever devotional service we're doing it joyfully. And that also helps us simply by being there and doing that. According to the instructions of Guru, we will be able to attain our destination. Otherwise, Krishna says you have to work hard, worship so many devatas. Yanti deva vrata devan, pitran yanti pitravrata, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti madhyajino bhima. If we don't worship Krishna and directly go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yanti madhyajino bhima, we'll go to the planets of different demigods. Yanti deva vrata devan, go to the planets of the demigods. Pitran yanti pitravrata, go to the planets of the Pitras or the forefathers, like that. So we go here, there, everywhere, and finally, what is that? Finally, after many lifetimes, then we understand that Krishna is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Then some Mahatma Sudhara. Then we become a Mahatma and surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what does an intelligent person do? Immediately he takes the shelter of Krishna and is immediately able to go back home, back to Godhead. Okay, text number 19. Let me share my screen. Okay. Sudha Mataji? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes. Dandavats.
Tapamyaham aham varsham nigrnam utsrajami cha amritam chaiva mrityuscha sadasachaham arjuna. Synonyms: tapami, give heed; aham, I; varsham, rain; nigranami, withhold; utsrajami, send forth; cha and amritam, immortality; cha and eva, certainly; mrityu, death; cha and sat, spirit; asat, matter; cha and aham, I; Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Arjuna, I give heed and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. Purport. Krishna, by his different energies, diffuses heat and light through the agency of electricity and the sun. During the summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky, and then during the rainy season, he gives unceasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of our life is Krishna, and which sustains us by and Krishna meets us at the end as death. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit, or in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinctions. He sees only Krishna in everything. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising all material manifestations is also Krishna, and his pastimes in Vrindavan as two-handed Shyam Sundara, playing on a flute, are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So everything, right? Stavara Jangame Deki Taramurti, right? The devotee sees Krishna in everything, and that's why Krishna also tells in chapter 7, Krishna tells in knowledge of the absolute, right? He tells that out of rishis I am so and so, I am the taste of water, rasoham apsukonteya prabhashmi shashishuryo pranavaha sarva vedeshu shabdke paurusham rishu, right? I am the ability in man, I am the syllable om in the Vedas, right? Pranavaha sarva vedeshu shabdke paurusham rishu. And then he also says, rasoham apsukonteya, I am the taste of water. Rasoham apchukonteya prabhashmi shashishuryo. I am the light of the sun and that of the moon. So when we see all these things, we remember Krishna. Oh, Krishna is the sun and the moon are the representatives of Krishna. They represent the eyes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like this, whatever we see, we remember Krishna, because Krishna is the source of everything. Okay, text number 20, our last verse for today. Let's request Hema Mataji, go ahead. Mataji, unmute, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dharat yes.
Mataji, please read this thing, no,
Yeah.
Mataji.
Traivedyamam soma paputa papa yajnairištva swargatim prarthayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan. Yeah. Synonyms?
Translation.
Synonyms,
Mataji.
Please read the synonyms, Mataji. Trividya, the knowers of three
Vedas. The knowers of the three Vedas. Mam, me, some drinkers of some juice. Puta, purified. Papa, of the sins. Gajflaya, with sacrifices. Istava, worshipping. Swaha, gatin, passage to heaven. Prathayante, pray for. Te, they, punyam, pious. Asyadya, attaining, Sura Indra of Indra, Lokam, the world, Asnanti, enjoy, Divyan, celestial, Divi, in heaven, Deva, Bogan, the pleasure of the gods. Translation. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Purport. The word Traya Vidya refers to the three Vedas, Sama, Yajur, and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called a Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the three Vedas. Actual three Vedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and side by side try to understand Krishna in truth. Unfortunately, those who are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to the different demigods like the Kandra. By such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified of the contaminations of the lower Sanaloka. Tapaloka, etc. Once situated on those higher planetary systems, one can satisfy his senses hundreds of thousands of times better than on this planet. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. Trividyamam Somabhuta Papa. That means what? If one follows the Vedic scriptures and then engages in sense gratification, because his desire is to have better sense gratification, the Lord says, yes, such a person can go to the heavenly planets, right? The higher planets. Our earthly planet is said to be in the middle, right? Below we have the hellish planets and above we have the heavenly planets, right? Indraloka, Chandraloka, Varunaloka, and what is that? Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, etc. All of these planets have much, much higher levels of sense gratification as compared to the earthly planet. One can go there, but Kshene Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti. Once they exhaust their prize credits, what do they have to do? They have to fall down to this material world. That is why an intelligent person is not interested in following the Vedic scriptures, try to enjoy oneself, and then land oneself in, Indraloka or Janaloka or Tapaloka or even Brahmaloka, Brahma Bonaloka, Punaravartino Arjuna. That's not a permanent destination where one can continuously, eternally live. Once one exhausts those pious credits, Kshene Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti, one has to fall down back to this material world. And that is why this Trivedi, who knows the Vedic scriptures very nicely, who use the Vedic scriptures to engage in sense gratification, those kind of people are not very intelligent, because they do get a better destination, which is better than the earthly planet. But then they enjoy for some time, and then when they exhaust their credits, they fall back to the earthly planet, and then they have to continue. Here again, they have the free will, they can continue. But why to go up and down and waste our time? Right? Rather practice Krishna consciousness right now by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and go back to the eternal dham of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and eternally enjoying the association of the Lord by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why a devotee is very intelligent, and that's what is the desire of a devotee. Hare Krishna. So with this, we end our session today. Let us quickly ask the devotees to switch on your cameras. We'll do Harinam Sankirtan. And if anyone has a doubt or wants to share any realizations, you can raise your hand on Zoom, and then we will take your realizations or your queries. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeeshadarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Jagannath Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudarshana Jai Bala Gopal Jaya Radha Madan Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Jaya Radha Rasa Bihari Radha Madan Mohan Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Gopinath Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Guru Parampara Jaya Sadgoswami Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Devanitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Harinam Sankirtan Mahayagya ki Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. I can see Moshmi Mataji, Hema Mataji, Rajneesh Prabhu, Shobha Mataji, Karpagavali Mataji, Vijayalakshmi Mataji, Sindhu Mataji, Harjeet Mataji, Sarvagopeshwari Mataji, Anjana Mataji, and all the devotees. Thank you very much for joining in. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. I don't see any hands up. So we meet tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock, Brahma Muhurta chanting. And then at 12, tomorrow is Saturday. So we will meet in the morning for Brahma Muhurta chanting. And then I hope all of you are part of the festival group. We can use the Saturday and Sunday to try and memorize the Narasimha Kavacham. Today is 16th, right? But today is 17th. 5 more days to go for the most auspicious Narasimha Chaturdashi. We can chant Narasimha Kavacham. And in this way, we can use our, if at all we have extra time, maybe 12:30 to 1:30, which is our regular study time, we can use for chanting Narasimha Kavacham. And in this way, we try to make, prepare our consciousness for the upcoming Narasimha Chaturdashi. Narasimha Chaturdashi Mahamahotsava ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande